Hey there, I'm Alexandra Harbushka, founder of Life with Herpes. I'm really excited to be doing an interview here with my new friend, Damon Wait, I had it perfect. Okay, Sununtnasuk.
Pretty great.
Okay, what was it?
Sununtnasuk, but
Okay,
Damon's totally fine.
Sununtnasuk. Gosh,
Excellent.
I was practicing, guys. Okay, we were saying how he would take Harbushka over his last name any day, but
That's right.
okay, but I got it. Sununtnasuk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. All right. Damon is the founder and CEO of Natural Cure Labs, and we're going to get into a little bit about that, and we're going to talk a lot about Monolaurin. It's kind of a new breakthrough in my world, and I think it's still pretty new on the market, and most people have not heard of it. So we're really going to get into that. He is joining us from Florida, which is cool. How is it in Florida today?
Sunny and beautiful as always.
Always. Yeah, I'm in Las Vegas, and we were just saying we're going to experience 30-mile-per-hour winds today. So that's not awesome, but I'm glad that you are sunny and beautiful in Florida. So those are the people that are listening that are in snow can just be jealous of Damon right now.
Indeed.
And
I'll send good warm thoughts to everyone.
Thank you. And normally when Damon and I talk, his cat, Nopalito, is hopping around. So I don't know if he's going to hop around today or where he's going to be, but if you see him in the background, just say hi to his kitty. And I always like seeing animals in videos. It makes me happy. So anyways, okay, Damon, enough about where you're calling from, about your cat and me butchering your last name. And I swear I practiced. Tell me a little about your personal story, kind of with your health journey, because I know we've talked about it offline, but I want you to share your personal health story.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, and thanks for providing the opportunity to speak with you today. So the journey of the company and my own journey really begins back in 2015 in San Francisco. I had been living overseas for several years, and in countries where nationalized health was just part of the experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And moving back to the United States, I was in between jobs and therefore in between insurance coverage. And I felt a very strong sense of anxiety.
How old were you
Having,
at this time?
oh gosh, early 30s.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
we're still young. I mean, we're young. We don't really have necessarily all the health issues happening.
that's right, but you never know,
You don't.
right?
Right.
And that anxiety and that uncertainty was weighing really, really heavily on me. And, looking at the research, looking at the statistics, there's over 28 million Americans that don't have health insurance. There are 58 million adults who suffer from what's referred to as medication insecurity. And I was one of those adults, right, faced with this challenge. And, one of the nice things about being in San Francisco is being surrounded by really passionate people, entrepreneurs, and enthusiasts for health and natural health, right? And so that was the combination of my experience and my location and my influence to really make me want to start something that's a little bit different, start a mission-driven company that's able to produce solutions that aim to support those 58 million adults who suffer from that medication insecurity, and that's how we got started.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, the medication insecurity or not having an answer or not having a result, it, like you said, we think we're invincible, especially coming out of our 20s, right? Nothing probably has really happened to us yet. Maybe a broken bone or maybe something like that, but we're usually able to rebound and as if nothing happened. And then all of a sudden, when you get a diagnosis of something, it is wow, now what? And that happens a lot for herpes diagnoses is this is typically one of our first big, oh, this is real. This is a real thing. What am I going to do now? I didn't plan on this in my life. I calculated this or calculated that, and I made these choices or those choices in order to try to avoid certain things in my life. And boom, this just happened. Now what do I do? And being able to be healthy is, I think, one of the greatest gifts.
That's right. And I think one of the challenges that a lot of people here in the United States face when they receive these diagnoses is that the traditional approach is really around medication based, right?
Mhm.
And these medications come with a cost, both physical cost, like the money you have to pay for it, but also secondary costs, which may be allergic reactions, rash, or hair loss, or headaches, or as extreme as things like digestive problems or even depression. And so I think that one of the things that we struggle with here is like an immediate rush to oversubscribe to some
Mhm.
of these
Mhm.
medication therapies without exploring other potentially less harsh alternatives.
Or letting it compound and not realizing until you realize, like, wow, I'm taking this many different prescription drugs, and I take this one that takes care of this one, but then I have to take this one that covers up that one, and this one's causing this, and so I'm going to have that, or blah 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 blah, and we don't realize that it also compounds, which doesn't solve it. So I like to ask a question whenever I interview someone. Okay. So, and it's like my signature question, and I change it for everybody. So what does a healthy immune system smell like to you?
Oh my gosh. I didn't see this one coming.
I know.
Unfortunately, Monolaurin doesn't have a smell.
Right. No, it's
But, for
like,
me, potentially it just means like you're liberated to do
yeah.
things that you enjoy in life and things that give you, personal pleasure. So for me, it might be the smell of being on a beach, being out and about, exercising or
Yep.
enjoying time with loved ones. I think that for me might be it.
Right. I was thinking when I was preparing for our interview, I was like, what does a healthy immune system or health smell like to me? And the thought that came to my mind was Sound of Music. When she's out there on the hill, like just singing, I was
Right.
like, that's like what a healthy. If I were to smell it, not that I know what Sound of Music smells like, but I'm just imagining up in those mountains. So yours was very similar, being the beach and with family and doing things that you love. So
Completely.
yeah, it's an interesting twist, right? To ask someone how it smells.
I love it.
Cool. All right. So Damon just mentioned Monolaurin, and I want to get to that. That was again, Monolaurin's it's a new topic to me. But first, let me just do a quick background on herpes for those of you that are tuning in, and in case we're not as familiar with herpes. So herpes is the HSV, herpes simplex virus. There's tons of different herpes viruses. The ones that we're specifically going to talk about right now are HSV1 and HSV2. Basically, they're the same virus. However, they are categorized differently just because they are slightly different. HSV1 typically prefers the oral region, and HSV2 typically prefers the genital region. So that's how we get oral herpes, genital herpes. But these viruses are interchangeable. They don't really care if you give them an opportunity to go to that place. The unfortunate thing about the herpes virus, I shouldn't say unfortunate. The cool thing about viruses is once we get the virus, we have the virus in our bodies for life, which can be really great for not reinfecting ourselves with other viruses. So perfect example is chickenpox. For those of us that are older than the chickenpox vaccine, I know I had it as a kid. I don't know if you had it as a kid, but we cannot reinfect ourselves with the chickenpox because it is a virus. So the thing with herpes, though, is because of the way that the virus is kind of enveloped, or the way it is, it's a DNA virus, which means that it has this a shell, or like a fatty acid that wraps around it, and it makes it difficult for our immune system to keep it suppressed, right? So I like to use the example, if you think of a hard-boiled egg, right? It has a hard shell, and then inside, or regular egg, right? Inside is kind of the gooey stuff. So it makes it really hard for our immune system to break through and keep that virus, just basically to like do a takeover,
That's
right?
right. And I think I love that you bring this up because I love geeking out on this exact subject. So
Okay.
you're right. And I think it's worth noting that there are many other herpes family of viruses, which include, you know, varicella, which is chickenpox, zoster, which creates shingles, Epstein-Barr, which can contribute to mono, and of course HSV, which you just talked about. And these are DNA enveloped viruses, but there are also RNA enveloped viruses, which include influenza and hepatitis C, measles, and developed viruses as well. So they're tricky. That fatty lipid sheath that protects the DNA or RNA of the virus is is sort of tough to get past. And you're right, it leads to a chronic impact on the nervous system.
Right, right. So you did a much better job of explaining that, but but it is true, right? So our immune system is basically is not able to. Let me repeat that. It makes it very difficult for our immune system to keep it dormant if we have a weak immune system. And that's really the key here is with herpes or any other virus for that matter, any other bacterial infection, the stronger the immune system we have, the better off that we're going to be, like out there at the beach or me and Sound of Music and, just having beautiful smells of health. So,
Exactly, exactly. And that's a perfect segue of how,
yeah, tell me
some
about it.
natural products may help support a healthy immune system or help maintain a healthy immune system so you don't feel immunocompromised and you don't succumb to potentially dormant things in your body, right?
Right. And the key is to keep the herpes virus dormant. So we will never get rid of it. The way that our technology works at this point in science is viruses will be in our body for life. We cannot get rid of them. However, the key is to make it go dormant in our system, which means we do not get outbreaks. If we're not having outbreaks, we're not in pain.
That's right. And that's exactly the traditional approach. That's how suppressive therapies work. They limit the frequency and duration of outbreaks, and that's what science is able to offer today through traditional medicines, right? But we'll try today to explore as carefully and as compliant and as a compliant manner as we can what the science
Yeah.
may be saying about monolaurin.
Yeah. So tell me about it. So I have it here, right here. For those of you that are watching this, if you're listening to it, I have the Natural Cure Labs, the lysine plus monolaurin dietary supplement. It's immune system support. And this is what we're talking about. I'm going to let Damon take it over. I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like in case you are watching. Okay.
That's right. And that's a fantastic combination product that brings a lot of science to the table. And we can unpack that science. We can unpack some of the research behind L-lysine, which is an incredible essential amino acid that has to be obtained through diet or supplementation. Your body doesn't produce it. And monolaurin, which can be obtained through diet as well or supplementation. So monolaurin is a really interesting compound, and it may be new to many people today, but it's not necessarily new to the dietary supplement space. It was first synthesized and discovered in the 1960s. And from what I understand, there was this interesting hypothesis regarding infant health and infant immune response, right? Um, the hypothesis was that something must be supporting infant immune health because when a baby is born, they don't have a lot of the immune system responses that an adult does after acquiring a lot of externalities, right? So something may be contributing to the health of the infant. And so an analysis of breast milk, human breast milk, unveiled that breast milk contains 6.2% lauric acid. And lauric acid is the real hero of the story here today. Lauric acid is a 12 carbon atom chain fatty acid that is found in human breast milk, but also in some plant fats, right? So principally coconut oil, which is around 50% lauric acid, and palm kernel oil, which is also around 48 or 49% lauric acid. And this lauric acid is really what's the focus of a lot of these like health studies and these research studies, right? And it's a fascinating compound. There are over 200 references to monolaurin specifically and lauric acid on research sites like NCBI, the National Institutes of Health, PubMed, right? This is a government-run website that surfaces publicly available peer-reviewed research, and it is fascinating to sort of dig into. And I encourage everyone who's listening or watching today to explore some of that research because you know as a representative of a transparent and compliance based company, there's not a lot that I can explicitly share
Right.
today. But I wouldn't ask anyone to take my word for it anyway, right?
Right.
I would really encourage people to go out, do the research, and just a quick search on Google Scholar or on PubMed and CBI will result in some incredible studies that explore what is monolaurin, what is lauric acid, and what are some of its applications in laboratory studies, both in vivo, which mean in a body, and in vitro, which means sort of in a lab condition, right? And in vivo doesn't necessarily mean a human body. It could mean a laboratory animal, like a poor hamster or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, but it's a really interesting proxy almost for what the potential might be with further scientific exploration. So those studies are phenomenal, and a lot of the studies explore monolaurin specifically with those enveloped viruses, right? As we just stated, you know, enveloped viruses are ones that have a fatty or lipid capsule that surround and protect the DNA or RNA of the virus, and the research there is worth noting.
So, okay, so I want to back up because I have a couple of questions for you on this because I know when we first talked, so I'm a nursing mom. My baby right now is 13 months. I don't know when I'm going to give it up. It's not weird yet. um, so, what you're saying is that in human breast milk or human milk, we are this like anomaly, right? That create this lauric acid that then goes to our youth, our young, our offspring, and gives them basically an immune boost or allows them to develop their immune system. Is what you're saying,
Yeah, that's what the research suggests, right?
right?
And there's research that goes beyond just analyzing the composition of human breast milk. Um, of course, the percentage on average is 6.2%, but that can range depending on the ethnicity of the mom, their location, their diet, their age. A lot of things impact that composition. But at the end of the day, a lot of the research is pointing to and suggesting that lauric acid does have immune supporting and regulating capabilities, help maintain and support
So,
digestive health and immune health.
so we can't get this from cow's milk.
No, bovine milk is different. It doesn't contain, and there are other studies that pit non-human milk, so bovine milk, against plant-based food alternatives for
Mm-hmm.
nursing infants. So common formulas will rely on animal lipids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So fats that come from cow's milk. This study pitted those lipids that come from cow's milk against lipids that come from plant sources. And by plant source, I really mean like coconut fats, right?
Okay.
Plant fats, healthy plant fats.
Would
And
olives
it suggested
also fall in there, like olive oil and avocado oil, or would just it's coconut?
I'll have to go back and find the research, but I remember that it was specifically around coconut for this
Cool.
particular study.
Okay.
And the results were fascinating because the impact that the formula or the nutrient source had, impacted the digestive health of the nursing infant, right? So the
Wow.
results of the study indicated that plant-based fats from coconut were actually healthier for the infant than the bovine-based fats, which I found really interesting.
That's wild because I know that it's important to make sure that your baby has full fat and we're, that's an important thing. I also, this is a little off topic about nursing mothers, but I watched this documentary. And if your firstborn is a daughter, is a girl, you make more milk.
Fascinating.
Fast, right? And it's because the women need, as we age, right? As a little girl turns into then a mom, she just needs more nutrients, I guess was the breakdown. So yeah, and even if you have like a girl and then boys, you will still produce more milk than a firstborn son mom, which is very interesting, I thought.
It's incredible how responsive the human body can be to
Mm-hmm.
the sort of the inherent needs of the
Mm-hmm.
infant. I've also read studies that indicate that breastfeeding is not a one-way um, exercise, that the mom takes into account um, certain chemical signals from the saliva of the infant during breastfeeding, and that saliva can indicate to the mom whether the infant is healthy, is sick, is underweight, and the body responds to that in real
Yeah.
time and produces a different type, a different
I
mixture
know.
almost of milk to support the infant.
Yeah, that is wild. I know. I did know that. And I can look at my different milk and see like, oh, this one's super fatty, or this one's not as fatty, or this one's like a super, almost like a rich yellow, and this one is white like a cow's milk. It's very interesting. Very interesting. But again, we're not here to talk about my breast milk. I just thought that it was some interesting facts that we learned about breast milk. And basically, I had no idea that this monolaurin, or what we're talking about, again, comes from human breast milk and coconut oil. I mean, those are like the two sources. And coconut oil has been, I would say, what, last 10 years, maybe 15, maybe going on 15 years, it was like the holy grail. It was like never on a shelf. No one ever bought it, to like everybody has it in every cabinet now, you know? But
It's very
mono,
popular indeed. And there
yeah,
are some really interesting studies on coconut milk as well, and its potential therapeutic benefits, from skin and hair health to digestive health as well. The curious thing about coconut flesh or coconut oil, though, is it comes with some secondary considerations, right? Its fat content is one, and I think what your listeners might be most interested in is like the was it arginine? I think maybe
yeah,
a secondary chemical found in coconut flesh or coconut oil. And, you know, if people are looking to increase their intake of lauric acid, the coconut type products are a great way to do that. But it is not very convenient if you're looking to get higher levels of lauric acid or monolaurin,
not
right?
all of us have a coconut tree.
That's
We
right. Or
might
not
in
all of us want to
Florida.
take. That's right. We have plenty down here, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to scale a tree every day to take it down. And also, I don't think I would feel comfortable taking several, like dozen tablespoons or teaspoons of coconut oil to get to that level that I need. A 600 milligram capsule of monolaurin equates to around 6.5 teaspoons of coconut oil, right?
Is this is this a
That's
six? Okay. In there,
it
each
is
one is
indeed.
600 milligrams.
For that particular product, it's 2 capsules of 600 milligrams
Oh,
of
okay.
monolaurin and 600 milligrams of L-lysine.
Got
There
it.
are several alternatives on the market for a 600 milligram capsule and above, or smaller if the individual needs. But for example, I think a standard dose may be not standard, but someone may choose to take 6 of those capsules per day, right? That's equivalent of almost a cup of coconut oil, right? And I don't
Ooh.
know many people who would feel good taking down a cup of coconut oil a day.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I don't think that would be good. I was just like picturing, I don't know, like one of those like commercials where it like coats your stomach or something.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. The
no.
capsules, you could argue, are a little bit easier.
Yeah. Okay. So and back to arginine, because we were talking about that. Coconut flesh, so the meat, and coconut milk is high in arginine, and that's something that is a little bit where we get a little bit worried about with people that have herpes. When we hear the word arginine, it's like, ooh, I don't want to have too much arginine. And just to give, for those of you that are listening, like, arginine, never heard of this. What is it? Basically, it's essential amino acid. It's important. We do need it. It's the building blocks to our health, like cardiovascular health is very important. Building blocks to our muscles. It's important. It's an essential amino acid, meaning it's essential. And we have to get it from our food sources. But what it is it's basically a lighter fluid for the herpes virus to replicate. And when we have the herpes virus replicating, that's what causes us to get outbreaks. So again, we tend to stay away from arginine, or be conscious of the arginine intake that we're having. So back to you and coconut and getting the monolaurin, or the natural supplements here. Should we worry about arginine?
Yeah, and I'm happy you bring that up. The short answer is no. I don't believe that monolaurin itself contains any arginine. That is, monolaurin is extracted from the coconut oil
Mm-hmm.
using a rather simplistic method of like a hot water bath and a chemical to help separate the lauric acid out. So it is my understanding that lauric acid comes out and the arginine stays behind.
Awesome. That's great. We need to know that. And then I like here that we have the lysine included with the monolaurin. And again, to back up and just give a little quick lesson on lysine. So lysine and arginine. Lysine is also an essential amino acid, again, meaning essential, meaning it is important. And we have to get it from food sources. Our body does not make it or create it. We get it from eating things like fish, dairy, eggs, I think potatoes. So we get it from a lot of other food sources. Now, this is the exact opposite from lysine, or excuse me, from arginine in our bodies when it comes to the herpes virus. It actually is like a fire extinguisher to the herpes virus. They've done studies and basically when it's in a petri dish or doing, the experiment on it in a petri dish, not in our bodies, but in a petri dish, you're able to suffocate the virus and keep it from replicating. So it is like, it's a very hostile environment for the herpes virus in your body if you have a high lysine diet, which is what we want to make. We want to make it uncomfortable for this herpes virus, right? We want it. It's not a trip to Disneyland where like I get on all the rides free and get to replicate. It is, let's keep you suppressed and hibernated.
Yeah, I'd like to support that comment and also add to it a little bit. From the studies that I've read, there are in vivo studies that explore L-lysine and its impact on HSV1 and HSV2 in the human body. In fact,
Okay.
we have, as part of our company, we have a team of medical professionals that perform research, that create dossiers of supporting materials that influence our product formulation and our ingredients that we choose. And from what I've come across, there are ample studies that, again, anyone listening or watching can find on Google Scholar or PubMed that support what you're saying, that in these studies that L-lysine has a significant impact potentially on HSV.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of lysine. It's something that I wasn't aware of it until probably about like maybe 5, 6 years ago. And as soon as I added it to my diet or was more conscious about the foods I consumed that were high in lysine when I had outbreaks, it really did make a world of a difference. And it was a huge impact. So, okay, I want to get back, but I want to get back to Monolaurin because again, this is just such an interesting topic to me. I had not heard of it when we first talked. You got my curiosity going because you're talking about breast milk, and obviously I'm a breastfeeding mom, so it was very interesting for me to be able to relate this to what I am currently doing and what I'm doing for my child. So the monolaurin has the ability to, again, basically, okay, I'm going to have you re-explain it, but when we have a strong immune system, we're able to keep the herpes virus dormant, and monolaurin has the ability to help us boost our immune system.
I think that monolaurin is taken and is shown to support and maintain immune health.
Okay.
As someone who has to run everything by a
Right.
team of legal experts, I can never say words like boost because it infers
Got it.
something that the FTC and FDA consider a no-no. And
Boost
again,
is a
like
bad word. Okay.
it's
It's like,
it's a common word that's easily thrown around, and
yeah,
unless you're deep in the industry, you wouldn't really recognize that
know it.
that's like a no-no.
Yeah.
But just to reiterate the fact that we're super proud to be a really transparent, quality-based, compliance-based company, and the difficult part about this is like we're so passionate about these
Clearly.
subjects and these ingredients, and we put so much time and effort into helping people get educated and learn about the complexities and the considerations, but we're also governed by what we can and can't say. But to answer your question more specifically, monolaurin is taken as a dietary supplement for immune health, but it's not. I mean, the curious thing about monolaurin is it's well beyond dietary supplements. It's not an ingredient that is at the top of everyone's mind, but it's used in other industries as well for similar effects, you could say. For example, it's used in cosmetics
Hmm.
as a surfactant and shelf stabilizer. It's used in food production, pasta, ice cream, again to help keep it
Wait,
shelf
wait,
safe.
wait. So they put monolaurin. So it's probably taken from, it's obviously not taken from breast milk. It's probably taken from coconut, and they use it in our pastas.
That's right. Yeah, it's used
Wow.
to coat the outsides of fruits and vegetables to help make it.
Making it shiny.
Um, no, to help it with its journey between the farm or the production facility and shelves, because again, fruits and vegetables can be susceptible
Perish.
to bacteria and other pathogens that happen when it gets bruised in transportation. And because of the potential antimicrobial effects of monolaurin, that's what the industry uses it for. It goes even further when you look at some industries like meat industries that want to be as natural or organic as they can, and they don't want to use things like harsh chemicals to clean flat surfaces. I've
Mhm.
read studies that suggest that these industries use monolaurin to clean flat surfaces as a natural alternative to harsh chemicals. So it's been used for several years or
Wow.
decades. It's just that just now, I think, coming to the forefront from a dietary supplement perspective.
Fascinating. Do you know if other countries are using it?
Yeah, well, Monolaurin specifically, I couldn't say. I know from our own internal sales that a lot of Western countries enjoy Monolaurin. We get lots of requests from people in Australia and Europe, the UK, North America. I believe a very interesting suggestion came out of a university in the Philippines, actually, to utilize monolaurin derived specifically from coconut to help support or at least explore its impact on health challenges today. Include the article. It was a professor at a university um, from the Philippines, alongside another professor from the United States that basically proposed this research study that I don't know if they found a grant or a sponsor or a lab to take it on, but they said, listen, the research here is really, really interesting. It's an interesting alternative to explore that doesn't include um, some of those harsher medical alternatives that we talked about at the top. And it's definitely worth further exploration. And so that just goes to show that the interest lies not just here in North America, but also in the East as well.
That's great. Yeah, I'm sure. It's so interesting too when we find something and we're like, oh, you got to try elderberry, and all of a sudden, like elderberry is like the hot thing. This is nothing new. It's just new to us, right? It's just new
I
to the
think so.
market. People have been using elderberry for years, or essential oils. Those aren't new. They were new. They were like the big hit, in the last 10 years. But essential oils were nothing new. People have been using them since the biblical times. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I was asking. Monolaurin, like you were saying, it's not new. It's just the idea of how it's being um, used for a dietary supplement is more of a newer. It's new. It's new to me. So that's all I'm trying to say. It's new to Alexandra.
And it's gained a lot of popularity recently, quite frankly. The market has gone from 0 to 100. The Google search data suggests that monolaurin interest is up 300% last year alone.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and a lot of these companies have been around for decades. And one of the nice things about monolaurin is that it's on the FDA's GRAS list. GRAS is an acronym for generally recognized as safe. And because of that, I think people have found confidence in supplementing their diet and their health protocols with monolaurin, and knowing that again, it's used in other aspects of food production and it's been around for a long time, and the FDA recognizes that it's safe.
Wonderful. So I did some digging on you, and I did some digging on your company, and I was looking at the Amazon reviews. And I was sitting here reading them, and I was like, wow. Like I was like, I didn't, whoa, this is cool. Wow. One of the things that I really want to acknowledge that I read, and I read through quite a few, was your customer service. And from a lot of the people were very, very pleased with your customer service. And I think that that is always a very important thing as a company. And because if you don't have, if you don't have a product, you have nothing to sell. Well, you could have the best customer service, but you have no product. But if you have the product and no operational side and no customer service side, then obviously we're not having happy customers. Both are equally important. But I just wanted to give you like a high five and kudos that I saw lots of great things about your company and the ethics and the infrastructure and things like that. So I just wanted to like high five you on that.
Thank
But
you.
yeah. But some of the testimonials that I came across that were awesome. I just want to read through them so that we can kind of talk about it here. It says, I've had cold sores, HSV1 on and off since I can remember. I read about the therapeutic properties of monolaurin coconut oil against all herpes strains, including HSV2, shingles, Epstein-Barr, mono, so on. So I gave it a try. No more outbreaks since taking this product. And just a couple capsules a day is far better than painful outbreaks. So for us with herpes, one of the things when we're first diagnosed is like, how do I get rid of this outbreak? How do I get rid of this right now? What do I need to do to not get this again? So when I see something like this and saying like, wow, this person is saying they've had no more outbreaks. Now there could be other things involved, such as, we don't know what they're doing, but if adding monolaurin to their daily routine and their daily supplements, then this is something that is helpful. This is like really encouraging for me. So I just heard from Damon, his power went out. I was telling him that my power might go out. So I just want to read through a few more of these testimonials I saw. Hopefully we can get them back. But if not, I will complete this interview on my own. So again, another thing that I heard, another testimonial I read that was really interesting to me was, this product is a miracle worker. I take a daily smaller dose to ward off HSV breakouts and a larger dose when I feel a tingle or suspect I'm coming down with something. I even give it to my friends during cold and flu season to prevent infections. This brand is really pure without any fillers, and the best part is it's made in the USA. So that is another great testimonial. I'm going to read one more. So that we can know, us with living with HSV is something, what works for one person may not work for you, but it also may be like, wow, this is what I needed to add to my regime in order to keep myself healthy. So it says, I've been a chronic sufferer of herpes HSV for years and will try anything at this point. I am very active on forums of people suffering for HSV, and more than one user suggested this monolaurin brand of treatment for their outbreaks. I started taking 2 pills with each meal, and then the result was, at first, was the Herx die-off reaction. So in other words, this person's saying they had like the flu-like symptoms, which means it's working. But after a while, a reduction in the number of outbreaks, the intensity and duration, it's been so much more effective than any creams or drugs for this person. You're starting to pay attention to when something's tingling or symptoms are flaring up, and they increase the dosage to stop it in its tracks. It's helped my stress levels, which is awesome because that's a cause for outbreaks, and finally feel like I have things under control. So relieved I found this product. We'll see if I can get by with the maintenance dose of 2 caps per day after a few more weeks. This product has been a lifesaver. So again, these are just some things. What I wanted to do, guys, was I wanted to bring it to attention. This is something that's new to me. I'd never heard of monolaurin. Obviously, being a nursing mom, I was like, whoa, my body is like a badass and it creates lauric acid, and I'm giving it to Clinton. That's awesome, right? So what I'd love to invite you guys to do is kind of like what Damon was saying earlier, do your own research on this. I am not a doctor. That is not my education level. And, but it's it's important to me to be able to bring things to your attention and to my attention. So I invite you to do your own research and go find out. I'm trying to think. We did have some questions on the Slack group. I don't know if Damon's going to make it back on in order to answer them. We may do a follow-up call, guys. Again, this is like, hey, power goes out. It happens. No Wi-Fi. Again, I just want to thank you guys for listening. If you have not subscribed, go on ahead, subscribe. I don't know where the button is, subscribe. I wouldn't be here without you, and I appreciate every single one of you for being a subscriber and for viewing and for asking questions. Also, our secret society community, which is the online secret community of people living with herpes. We have people from all over the world, all different languages, all different cultures, all different time zones. And it, to me, is such a beautiful community of people that are living with herpes, that are getting off that roller coaster of their diagnosis, and they are going back and living beautiful, beautiful lives. So I will have links for you to do your own research as well below. Of course, I don't have Damon here to reference us right now. I know he made the references in the beginning of the podcast. And oh, here he is. Let's see. Here we are. We did it.
You plan for everything, and what you can't expect is when there's construction across the street and your power goes out. I hope we can edit this.
No worries. No, I actually kept going.
Oh,
I kept going. I kept reading my testimonials. And one of the things that I did not have the opportunity to ask you, so I'm so stoked you're back. We posted some questions, or we opened this up to the Slack group. It's the secret society community that I have for the Life with Herpes community. And Damon was so kind to go in there, answer questions directly, and just get people to the right resources. So let's go through and kind of look at some of the questions that people were asking. One of the questions that was asked was, should it be ingested, or is this a topical, or both? She said that she's heard conflicting info that coconut oil is a great moisturizer and lube, but also can disrupt the flora of the vagina. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. So what do you recommend here? What's going on with, is it topical?
Yeah, so that's great. So there are two things to unpack here. One is that, can you use monolaurin as a topical or ingested? And then how does that compare to coconut oil? Because it sounds like the user is interested in the application of coconut oil in this particular aspect, right? So unfortunately, I can't answer the coconut oil component, but what I can do is suggest that there are a few resources to investigate for the monolaurin component, right? Mm-hmm. So clearly, we've spent a lot of time on today's podcast talking about monolaurin as a dietary supplement, which is ingested. And time permitting, we can talk about the different ways to get monolaurin, because not all monolaurin is created equal.
And I don't have enough breast milk to go around, guys.
That's right.
Maybe like my first 2 weeks, I did, but now I'm not sharing.
Luckily, there's plenty of coconuts to go around.
Good.
The second thing is, so there are some companies that make some topical creams that include monolaurin. I've even seen lip balms that include monolaurin, some like salves that you put on your skin that may contain monolaurin. And we don't produce it, but that's something that seems very, very popular. And clearly you can ingest it as a dietary supplement. Now, what's curious about this is the user's comment about irritating the vaginal canal. And there's actually research on that in rhesus monkeys, I think. They used monolaurin in rhesus monkeys in one study to look at sensitive mucous membranes, which include the vaginal canal. I don't remember sufficient enough details about the research study, but what I can do is I can dig it up and send it to you and share with the group. But
we'll post it in Slack.
The research indicated that it was not an irritant at the end of the day.
That's great. So question about monolaurin topically then. So because I use lysine in a lot of my secret society products. In fact, I have this lip balm and I have 100 milligrams of lysine in it. What does monolaurin do topically? Does it help combat it? Obviously, if you ingest it, you're combating it, both ends. You're taking it internally and also putting something topical. So how does monolaurin help topically?
Yeah, and I don't know enough to speak to that component, but all I can say is, again, point to the research, because there has been research on skin health in monolaurin. And again, like mucous membranes in monolaurin, which may be part of like the topical application, because your nose is a good example of mucous membrane, or oral cavity, etc. So though there's research out there that explores that component, and what I can do is follow up specifically on that.
Cool. Okay. Next one is someone saying they started taking monolaurin recently. I've read that there's dosing for general immune support and other for other for HSV and other viruses. Is there a higher dose to be used during outbreaks or all the time if HSV positive? That's a great question, because a lot of times, you have the maintenance of, hey, I'm just going to take my car in for an oil change. And then sometimes you're like, oh, it's the 20,000 mile and you need new brakes and you need new all that, right? So basically, do we increase the monolaurin intake because we have herpes, or is it just with an outbreak, or how does that work?
Yeah. And I can't be overly prescriptive, again, trying to be as compliant as possible here. But
Of
what I can
course.
offer is that there are a few generally accepted or generally agreed upon delivery mechanisms for monolaurin, right? And you named a couple of them actually. One is like maintaining like general health. So it's taking a dosage which you think is more your body responds to from a general health perspective. Some people choose to up the dose when exposed to immune compromise, and others want to introduce any new dietary supplement, monolaurin being no different, in a sort of low and slow methodology. And let's unpack that a little bit, because some of your readers may have heard of um, a reaction called the Herxheimer reaction, or some people call it a die-off experience or symptom. And it's when your body, when taking an antibacterial medication or antiviral medication potentially, the rapid die-off of the pathogen releases these like endotoxin proteins into your immune
Mhm.
system, which can trigger an immune response, like an inflammatory response, which has ironic symptoms that are ironically similar to having like a cold or a flu, right? And this is a reaction in your body that was first discovered by someone I think named Joseph Herxheimer. And some people think that that is something that they want to avoid when introducing a new supplement, maybe something like monolaurin. And so they might introduce it, again, sort of a low and slow method as they sort of
Uh,
introduce a new supplement into the routine and then into their body. But frankly, everybody's body is different. Everyone's body reacts differently, and people have different individual needs. And so I don't think just giving a general statement about dosage would be helpful. I think I would encourage everyone to work with their primary care physician and their general practitioner, and to explore, is this a supplement that's right for you? If so, how might you consider introducing it into your routine, and go from there? But supplements also are not a a magic bullet, right? They're
right.
not going to cure anything. They don't treat anything. They don't diagnose anything. Supplements, by their very definition, are supplementary to healthy lifestyle choices, which include eating really well, exercising, getting plenty of sleep. So I want to be clear that the things that we're talking about today, they had some really interesting research behind them. Yes, a lot of people choose to take them as part of their overall health protocol, but nothing that we're describing today is going to cure or fix anything like overnight, right?
Absolutely. And I want to talk a little bit about the cure idea here, because a lot of us, when we're first diagnosed with herpes, or I'm sure any sort of um, chronic illness or something, where's the cure? How do I cure it? How do I cure it? And I just want to invite you, listeners, that don't be waiting for this cure. It's like, the saying, like, oh, well, if I lose 10 pounds, I'll be happy. Yeah, your clothes might feel better. Your clothes will feel better, 100%. There's no doubt, right? Like, obviously, your jeans will fit a little bit better, but you can still enjoy that journey, and you can still find happiness where you are right now. Because when you get to those 10 pounds later, or you get herpes outbreak free, or you're waiting for that out to be herpes cured, or whatever it is, we can pass up a lot of joys in our life. And that's something that I really hone in on, is with my community, is like, I'm not necessarily looking for a cure. I'm looking for ways to boost my immune system. I'm looking for ways to keep this virus dormant. I'm looking for ways to improve my overall well-being. Um, but to try and, like, I gotta have this cure. Get that out of our minds. And again, finding supplements like monolaurin, vitamin C, vitamin D, elderberry, lysine, multivitamins, fish oil. I'm just going down the list. These are all things that can compound and truly help our overall well-being. So I just wanted to hone in on that, because you brought up a really good point.
Absolutely, and I second it. I second that as well. It's all around making conscious choices to support your mental and physical well-being,
Mhm.
and finding the things that work best for you. For some people, it may include dietary supplements. For some people, it doesn't have to, right? But as
Right.
long as you have,
For Clinton, my son, it's breast milk.
right,
He's good to go.
exactly.
Yeah. So Damon, what can people do to do their own research, get their own information, make their own decisions on this? Where should we send them? Where should we direct them?
Perfect. Thanks, Alexandra. And like I said earlier, I don't want anyone to listen to me or take my word for it, right? I encourage everyone to go and do the research. Some of the websites I mentioned previously were the National Institutes of Health. The PubMed directory is fantastic. There, a simple search will uncover a couple hundred references to monolaurin and lauric acid, some specific to things like HSV. And Google Scholar is another trusted resource, which helps sort of pull in data stores from other parts of the world, which can uncover some really interesting articles as well. And then there are some other, interesting, I don't want to call them influencers, but they're nutrition experts and specialists. There are many people who are really big advocates of monolaurin, and maybe you can learn something from them as well. Alyssa Goodman is one that that we know and really appreciate. Dr. Axe, Alex Reinhart, all these nutritionists and dietary experts, I suppose, all have some interesting things to say about monolaurin. So go check out and listen to what they're saying. And to your earlier point, and it's probably where I unfortunately had to drop for a little bit, is peer reviews are an interesting way to explore how other people use or find the supplements to be helpful. Take those with a grain of salt. Frankly, everyone has an opinion. Some may be motivated by different things than others, but it's another data point, right? And so getting educated, talking to the experts, talking to your own doctor, doing the research, that's really going to help you give the most rounded viewpoint to make the right educated decision for you as an individual.
I love that. Period. The end. I love it. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for listening. Damon, thanks for joining me. I was the one that's supposed to lose power, and you're the one that lost power.
I'm sorry.
No, it was, hey, it's life. That stuff doesn't stress me out. It's life. It happens. This is part of being virtual. I think it's amazing that we can be virtual. You can be on the other side of the country. I can be on the other West Coast, and we can make this happen. It's kind of like beaming people. It's kind of cool. Anyways, for those of you that are listening that are like, what is the secret society and this online community that Alexandra was talking about? I just want to encourage you to check it out yourselves. Again, like Damon said, hey, check it out yourself. Don't take my word for it, but I'm pretty proud of it. I think it is the best online herpes platform for people living with herpes. I mean, people from all over the world, and it warms my heart to see so many people having successful disclosures or saying, gosh, when I first joined, I was alone or not feeling confident or never thought I'd be sexy or never thought anybody would touch me or kiss me. And just to see people transformed. I just read a message this morning saying this one woman had not had sex with her husband since she'd been diagnosed and didn't feel that she was sexy. And all of a sudden they decided she worked through it on her own. And she's like, I had no idea that I had these silly ideas in my mind. And it was, putting a toll on my marriage. So this is the stuff that we talk about in the group. So I'd love to invite you all to come over and check it out. I have it linked somewhere. I don't know where. Thanks, Damon.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me today.
You're welcome. I'll see you soon.
Count on it.